Today in Higher Learning, we're talking March Madness and graduation rates. At this point, your bracket may be busted, or it could still be in good shape. But tournament time also raises concerns about the poor graduation rates of some of the nation's top college basketball programs. Joining me this morning is Peter Kerwin from Rhode Island Higher Education Assistance Authority to tell us more. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Michaela.
This kind of came as a shock to me because it's almost a misconception that you think, okay, Division I school, high schools, but poor graduation rates?
Yeah,
How bad are they?
Well, I mean, for some of the schools, it's really abysmal. You've got Derek Z. Jackson has been writing about this in the Boston Globe, had a couple of great columns in recent weeks. It's also an issue that's been brought up by the U.S. Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan. And it's not going to go away anytime soon, especially when you have a school like Kentucky in the Final Four. Kentucky's one of those programs where you've got a coach, John Calipari, who's been to the Final Four with two other teams, UMass and Memphis, and had those taken out because of NCAA violations. So with Kentucky, their program now, Jackson looked at it and said, you know, their graduation rates for black athletes have just been awful the last few years. Over the last 6 years, their rates have been 17%, 9%, 17%, 17%, 18%, and 0%.
Wow.
That's tough stuff. And there are a number of other schools that are in rough shape too. He pointed to University of California, Berkeley, which has an 85% graduation rate for all their students, 62% for black students. But when you go to the basketball team, the graduation rate for the basketball team this year was 0%.
Wow. So I got to ask you, all of these schools are doing so poorly. Is anyone doing a good job?
Yeah, you've got a number of schools which actually are showing the way and really doing a great job. Notre Dame, and I want to give you the list of them, Marquette, Wofford, Brigham Young, Wake Forest, Utah State, and Notre Dame all had 100% graduation rates for their basketball players.
Wonderful.
Whereas there are a number of other schools, Duke, Villanova, Pittsburgh, and Georgetown, they had rates between 67% and 100%. So, I mean, there are some that are doing a great job.
So there are some that are doing well, but kind of back to the schools that aren't really doing well, how can they improve those rates? Are there things that can be done?
Well, one of the things, Secretary Duncan came out a few months back and said, hey, look, what we should look at doing for the NCAA is if your schools don't make a 50% graduation rate cut, you shouldn't be invited or eligible to play in postseason tournaments.
Wow, that would have a huge effect on some brackets.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, I mean, the Knight Commission, which had been put together to look at this same issue, they kind of came to the same conclusion. Unfortunately, that recommendation got met with a lot of derision. I mean, Jim Boeheim, the coach of Syracuse, whose school would have been out, basically said that's completely nuts. You can't do it. Another coach who attacked Duncan was Bruce Pearl, coach of Tennessee. Well, he's been chased out of town because his program had some problems. He got fired. But if you look at the Lady Volunteers down in Tennessee, he had graduation rates of 16 to 38% over the last 6 years. The Lady Volunteers, great women's basketball program, 100% graduation rate. So clearly there are people doing it right.
Women's basketball, gotta love it.
There you go.
Peter, as always, thank you so much.
No
and
problem.
for more information from College Bound Fun, you can head to our website, foxprovidence.com.